So, ladies and gentlemen, Chris Brown has found himself in another bizarre situation. So, he had recently gotten arrested in the United Kingdom because allegedly in 2023, he hit a producer over the head with a bottle, and now he was revisiting the UK for a tour. Now, why did he set up a tour stop at a place like that where he has this situation hanging over his head? I'm not sure. Either way, he was arrested and denied bail, and apparently he's not going to be released until June. But I don't really want to talk about that too much. I want to actually focus on the other aspect that I noticed with this whole situation, which is when you seen the way that UK news-based network, when they were describing Chris and talking about him, it seemed as though they took several opportunities to make certain statements that kind of describe him in a belittling sort of way, as if, almost as if he doesn't matter. Things like saying he's Rihanna's ex and things like that are, very irrelevant because that was like 20 years ago. But the most important thing that they said that caught my attention, that threw me off, was when they called him a rapper. And don't get me wrong, Chris Brown has had songs here and there where he has rapped. When he wants to rap, he is a competent rapper, but everybody knows that Chris Brown is not actually a rapper. He is an R&B singer. And I don't like when a lot of these mainstream news networks and these mainstream platforms do this, because when they use the term rapper, we know what they're getting at. We know that they're using it as if it's a negative thing, as they're using the word, they're turning the word rapper as essentially it's cultivated a bad connotation that's now associated with the idea of being a rapper. And why is that? Well, a lot of reasons, but again, Chris is being lumped into that because not because he raps on songs here and there, but because when they look at his outer appearance, he has a certain aesthetic that they that they put in a box of a rapper. And I have an issue with that because it's frustrating, because it can make you, if you're somebody who raps and is a rapper, almost be uncomfortable or ashamed to want to discuss with other people the fact that you rap, because most people, when they hear the term rapper, they have a picture in their head of who you are and what type of music you make and what type of life you live and what type of look you're gonna have, right? So for someone like me, I'm a rapper and producer. I put out 4 albums. My name is Mfasis. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. But I don't really fit into many of these boxes. I say all the time that I'm kind of in like the gray area, and there's many other rappers out there who are similar to me that they're kind of in like the gray area, but that aspect gets completely ignored because people will focus so much on like that archetype that Chris Brown kind of fits into with his outer appearance. And who do I think deserves blames for that? To be honest with you, I think it's the fans. Yes, many of you. And don't get me wrong, I understand that the labels definitely deserve blame as well. They're the ones signing many artists who fit into a certain stereotype, who push the most ignorant versions of hip hop. And yes, I understand that the artists themselves also deserve some blame, because they're the ones that also will push a certain image about themselves and perpetuate certain stereotypes, even if they themselves don't actually come from that sort of background. Like, you got guys like Jadakiss, who him and Sheik Luke and Styles P from the Locks, if I'm not mistaken, they went to like Jadakiss's father a couple months ago had exposed during a podcast that they went to private school, and they conveniently left that out while pushing a lot of street music and that street image over the years. So I understand that the labels and the artists do deserve some blame, but one person or one group that never gets talked about enough when it comes to what's wrong here and what's the problem is the fans, because the fans themselves are the ones that love to embrace the most ignorant aspects of hip hop, the most ignorant aspects of being a rapper, just one specific lane. Most fans have they have no real interest in diversity. They have no real interest in trying to see all that's out there, which is really sad and pathetic in my opinion, because hip hop is literally the most diverse genre in all of music, but most hip hop fans, they don't care and they can't see beyond the surface to even notice that. Imagine having a computer that was capable of quantum computing and it also has insanely fast and insanely impressive upload and download speeds, and it's capable of doing all these cool things. But meanwhile, the only thing you want to do with that computer is play that old game, that old pinball game that used to be on Windows 95 back in the day. That's essentially what most hip hop fans do with hip hop, where despite all the different lanes that are out there, despite all the different artists that are out there who fit into different lanes, despite how diverse it can be, how broad of a spectrum you can have when it comes to the type of artists who make hip hop, most hip hop fans only want things related to the streets. That's all they want. And you see this time after time after time. And whenever I bring this point up, many people will try to dismiss it and say, oh, well, Kendrick Lamar's popular and J. Cole's popular. I don't care if they're popular. Those guys are anomalies. People like that are anomalies. Showing me people who are exceptions doesn't disprove the rule. It's clear that the standard is more so based on rappers who fit into that street aesthetic, who fit into that drill aesthetic. It is very obvious. There have been way more artists who fit into the mold of 21 Savage and Future who have popped off, who have come and gone over the past 15 years than there have been J. Cole and Kendrick Lamar's. And this is no disrespect to Future and 21 Savage, but I'm just using them as an example. And it's also no disrespect to J. Cole or Kendrick. I'm not saying there aren't artists who fit into those boxes. There's plenty of artists who fit into the boxes of a J. Cole and a Kendrick Lamar. But my point is, most of these artists don't actually get an opportunity they don't get an opportunity to actually shine, because most fans don't want to gravitate to that stuff. Yeah, you have those two guys that they're anomalies. People like Doechii, they'll be anomalies that people will gravitate to. But the majority of artists who fit into that gray area, who make unique music, who try to push the limits on hip hop, these artists are artists that most fans will ignore because they would rather just focus on somebody who fits into the aesthetic or the lifestyle of somebody like a Chris Brown, or the people, the bloods that Chris Brown associates with, basically. And it's very disappointing as somebody who likes music and also specifically likes and is passionate about hip hop. But I know it's really never going to change, to be honest with you. A lot of people, they love pretending like they're so tired of what's out right now, but these same people, when you challenge them and try to figure out what type of music are they checking out, what you'll find out is most of these people don't actually broaden their horizons. They don't actually attempt to expand their musical palette when it comes to hip hop. They just listen to whatever's on the radio, whatever's on Rap Caviar. Well, what's on these type of platforms? It's typically street music. That's the vast majority of stuff you'll hear is just street music. It is what it is. I've lost count of how many people I've met over the years who say that they only listen to trap or they only listen to drill. Think about how limiting that is, to only listen to that one style of music. But again, most people really don't care. And it is what it is. But again, when you only fit into that box, when you only check for that one lane is the only thing that people who don't pay much attention to that genre are gonna know of. The casuals out there, the only thing they know of when they think of a rapper or hip hop is people who fit into drill music or trap music, those one or two specific lanes, even though there's countless other lanes, but those are the only ones that fans go out of their way to put on a pedestal and talk about all day and keep trending and relevant. And then you wonder why some of these people who may be outsiders to that genre end up not really thinking too deep into that genre and just lumping everybody who looks similar into the box of a rapper, because even the hip hop fans themselves don't bother trying to look deeper beyond the surface. They lump those guys into, they just, they lump a lot of people into boxes because even the hip hop fans don't even look at these people with any nuance. So why are you expecting outsiders to do the same? Or why are you expecting outsiders to do anything differently? Kind of going on a, I'm not trying to be on a soapbox, of course, but I just think it's very disappointing. And people clearly are mad because, like, when you, I'll see like I saw like an academics video where I see people in the comment section complaining, saying, yo, they're calling him a rapper. Anytime they got a African American guy who's in trouble, who makes music, they just lump him into a rapper. That's not right, blah blah blah. But I'm like, well, you're not checking out, you're not helping to promote more diverse versions of hip hop. So once you don't do that, you're also gonna not only put the music that people are familiar with, you're gonna put them into a box where they only know a small amount of it, but also you're gonna put them in a spot where when it comes to the aesthetic, they only know, most casual fans only know one aesthetic when it comes to hip hop, one look. And now if you had listened to a more diverse set of artists, you would start to realize that these diverse artists, this diverse set of artists also, you would start to realize this diverse set of artists, they also have different looks that, you know, not saying they're gonna go over the top to look unique or whatever, but at the very least, they're going to, you know, look like themselves, have whatever that may be. But it is what it is. Let me know, do you think Chris Brown